Hi, it's Chris Hynes from Wealthi. I hope you're all well. Today, I just wanted to run you through a quick presentation that I've made around why to invest in Manchester. I guess there's been a lot of talk in the media over the past 6 months around the opportunity that Manchester presents. And I wanted to go through a number of those topics today in this presentation to hopefully answer a few questions that may be playing on your mind at the moment. And if you do have any questions come the end of this presentation, please feel free to flick me a message, give me a call, or send me a message on LinkedIn, whatever is easiest for you. And more than happy to have a bit of a chat around that. But without further ado, we'll dive on into it and we'll get started. So, to start off with, why Birmingham? And I guess there's a number of reasons behind that. So it's an economic powerhouse now. We're seeing some massive corporate businesses move in to Manchester. And we're also seeing a mix of, your startups, your technology-based businesses, your creatives moving to Manchester as well. So it's opening up a lot of opportunities for both seasoned professionals and your young professionals that are looking to get out of university and move into the corporate world. We are seeing the highest rental growth in any UK city. And on top of that, Manchester is now ranked in as the UK's most livable city as well. So from a lifestyle perspective, it's ticking a lot of boxes. You've got a thriving student scene, which is supporting a healthy rental market. And in terms of that student scene, you've got 5 of the UK's top universities in Manchester, and you've got one university in Manchester that is ranked, or University of Manchester, which is ranked in the top 30 universities in the world now as of this year. So fantastic from an education standpoint. And the best thing about that is that a lot of these students that are going to these universities in Manchester are getting some very good education. They're coming out with some very strong jobs, and they want to stay in Manchester as well because it's a very livable city. And also from an international perspective, having University of Manchester now ranked in the top 30 universities in the world, it's attracting international investment and international students as well. Now, it's located in the heart of the north, and we'll detail that in a bit more detail later on through this presentation. And then we're seeing a lot of regeneration and investment being thrown into Manchester property at the moment to transform the city and rejuvenate the city. Give it a new facelift, you could say. But yeah, we'll run through that in a bit more detail throughout. But there are a number of you could say 6 or 7 points there that are really driving the growth within Manchester itself. Now, start off with, we've got the economic powerhouse. So this stat really stood out to me when I came across it a couple of months ago. But Manchester now has a larger economy than Wales and Northern Ireland, which is incredible to think that the little city, or the small city that Manchester once was, now has an economy larger than Wales and Northern Ireland. And from a population standpoint, there's about, or just over 200 million people now that live in Manchester, which has seen a 20% population growth over the last decade. So they're seeing some very strong population growth in Manchester at the moment. Now, the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester have a gross value added of £62.8 billion, and it's now classified as Europe's fastest growing city, or one of Europe's fastest growing city, I should say, sorry. You've got talent-hungry companies that are flocking to Manchester, thanks to these universities that I touched on at the start. So you're seeing students come out of these world-class universities, very educated, eager, keen young professionals, and they can now go work for some very large established companies in Manchester. And in terms of job creation, Manchester is set to outpace cities such as Berlin, Tokyo, and Paris within the next few years, which is just incredible to think that the little city of Manchester, well, not so little city now, but Manchester is going to be overtaking some serious powerhouses in terms of, opportunity around the world. So a massive standout for Manchester there. And as a result, once we do get to the levels of Berlin, Tokyo, and Paris, I think we're going to see more of an influx of people and businesses as well into Manchester. And what's that going to do? It's going to help drive those property prices up and hopefully help move those monthly rental rates up as well, which we have seen some very strong rental increases over the last 12 and 24 months as well. Now, as I touched on it briefly in that last slide, but the city has a lot of opportunities in all industries. So something else that stood out to me, and something I didn't know until very recently, but Manchester was the birthplace of IVF. So we're seeing a lot of innovative businesses move to moved to Manchester, and it's great to see that they've done, or the creation of, or the birthplace of IVF is a significant achievement, and I think that's worth noting, giving Manchester a pat on the back for that. Now, in terms of foreign businesses, there's over 2,000 foreign businesses that have moved to Manchester now, and you've got the likes of Google, Cisco, and IBM all up there and have a base in Manchester. We're seeing a large variety of sectors in Manchester, or relocate to Manchester. Businesses in the life science world, cybersecurity, fintech, healthcare, manufacturing, and then also your digital and tech sectors. But it's really helping shape the city's future. Now, I've touched on this just before, but new business opportunities for both large and small businesses, and then your startups as well, where there's plenty of opportunities for young professionals. And it's expected that Manchester is going to create 55,000 more jobs by 2025 and add £19 billion of GDP to the economy. So what's that, about just over 10,000 jobs a year that will be created in Manchester alone for the next 5 years. And that was taken from 2020. So for 5 years, it's going to be spread out. Now, in terms of startups and digital and creative scene in Manchester, it's now rivaling London. And I think it's rivaling London because from an affordability perspective, you don't have to pay extortionate rents to now be in London. You can go up to Manchester and find an office space just as nice, if not nicer, and save a fraction of rent for these large corporates, which will really be helping drive their businesses up to places like Manchester, Liverpool, and Birmingham as well. But Manchester is now recognised as one of Europe's largest creative, digital and technology clusters, with a fast-growing £5 billion digital ecosystem. Manchester is officially the UK's top digital tech city, with ambitions to become a top five European digital city and global influencer, and I have no doubts that they will get there. The city's creative, digital and tech ecosystem houses more than 10,000 businesses at this stage, from startups to SMEs, to globally renowned brands. And Media City, which was developed about 5 years ago now, encouraged the likes of ITV, BBC and Mediacom to relocate their headquarters up to Salford Quays in Manchester. And off the back of that, it has really, really driven prices up in Salford Quays more so through the roof, and rental demand to be living almost across the road from where you work, especially for people working for ITV, BBC and Mediacom, has really driven those rental prices up in the immediate vicinity as well. Now, Manchester's also given birth to some of the fastest growing tech companies in the UK. You've got your unicorns such as Boohoo.com, or Boohoo Clothing, as it's commonly referred to as. They're now valued at over £1 billion. And you've got shopping firm AO, which are also valued at over £1 million. So we're seeing some serious business and some serious money thrown into, or valued for some of these businesses that are now calling Manchester their home and their headquarters. Now, in terms of property price growth, we're seeing some very, very strong house price growth in Manchester. COVID really put a spanner in the work, but it seems to be, kind of kicked to the side from a Manchester property price perspective. The market remained resilient, and the trend is continuing to move upward in an upwards trajectory. House prices increased 8.7% over the past 12 months, and that's sitting second behind Liverpool, which increased about 10.5% for the last 12 months. Manchester's forecast to see both the highest sales price growth and highest rental growth in any city in the UK over the next 5 years. So really putting cementing its position as a really, really strong investment. Over the next 5 years, the average value of residential property in Manchester is set to grow by 28%. And I think they'll definitely achieve that. Some very, very strong numbers, but I think the opportunity that Manchester presents at the moment, and being the capital of the Northern Powerhouse, and being in that central position in the Northern Powerhouse, I think that's really going to help it stand out from its competition. And as it stands, property values are growing at 4 times that of London. So what I mentioned, Manchester grew at about 8.7% last 12 months. London was sitting at about 2.3%. So just under 4 times at the moment, but nonetheless, some very, very strong price growth there for Manchester. Now, in terms of the rental market, it's got the highest rental growth of any UK city. Manchester is poised to see the highest rental growth over the next 5 years in terms of UK cities as well. Rents in Manchester are expected to increase over the next 5 years at 16.5%, reflecting heightening demand and better quality stock. The UK average in terms of rental growth for the next 5 years is expected to sit around 14.8%. So it's sitting just under 2% higher than the national average. Now, despite the lucrative rental yields and the strong rental market, housing market still remains affordable, which is more important. The average price of a house in Manchester now costs you about £203,000 as of December 2020. The stats haven't come out for this year, but as soon as they do, I'll be sure to send them out. So that's a 6.14% increase on December of 2019. And then in terms of flats, and this is a stat from this year, that's increased from £192,000 last year to sit at £195,660 this year. So very, very decent numbers there. And from an affordability perspective, in terms of the rest of the UK, it's still significantly cheaper than buying something in London, for example. And in terms of comparing it to places like Birmingham, you could say it is slightly cheaper than your Birmingham as well. But you've still got a very, very strong business and business, you could say, ecosystem and economy as a whole. So it's it's reaping or ticking a lot of the boxes from an investment perspective. Now, in terms of a lifestyle, the lifestyle aspect of Manchester, it's now the UK's most livable city, and it's also ranked 54th in the world in terms of livability. It was, prior to COVID, ranked at 34th. The UK was hit quite hard, obviously, with COVID, and there was places around the world that you could say were more ideal to live in throughout that scenario. So I have no doubt that when the next report comes out, 2022 livability report, I have no doubt that that'll come back down probably to around 35, 40, but time will tell. But nonetheless, I think it's still something very proud. Manchester should be very proud of where they are sitting in terms of that scale of livability cities in the world. Now, the quality of life in Manchester is substantially better than other UK cities, and it's also attracting a large variety of people. So you're getting a mix of professionals, young professionals, old professionals, or seasoned professionals. You're seeing families move into Manchester as well, and then you're seeing a large a tourist-centric city as well. People from all around the world are now coming to visit Manchester, and in terms of tourism, they're generating about £6.6 billion per year in the local area from tourism alone, and making it the UK's second largest contributor. And you can only imagine where the first largest contributor is, and that would be London. Now, it's well known for its music and performing arts scenes, gastronomy, the nightlife as well. It's always a good night out, and the sports and leisure offerings. Obviously, you've got Manchester United, you've got Manchester City in Manchester, and that's really also helped solidify Manchester as a city, its international recognition. You've also got your beautiful mountains and hills nearby, the Lake District, Peak District. They're just a stone's throw away. So you can get out of the hustle and bustle of Manchester and escape to the countryside and go hiking and enjoy the outdoors. Now, in 2019, Manchester also overtook Edinburgh as the most popular tourist destination outside of London, and the city is one of the most visited in the UK. So it's really put itself on the map from an international perspective over recent years. So in terms of location, as we all know, it's located really in the middle of the UK, or the northwest, we could say. It's the gateway, as it's commonly referred to, the gateway to the north of England. In terms of the city and what is in the city from a connectivity perspective, the city's urban light rail, Manchester Metro Works, that transports about 41.2 million people around the city a year. That was taken from 2019, but I can't imagine, or maybe last year that number would have gone down slightly due to COVID restrictions and stay at home. But I have no doubt that once everything's back up and running, and as it stands now, we'll start to see those numbers continue to rise. Manchester to London takes about 2 hours by the train at the moment. Now, HS2 hasn't been approved up to Manchester. There's still a lot of talk around it going ahead. There's also talk around it not happening. So time will tell whether that line from Birmingham to Manchester does get put down. And if so, I can imagine that those travel times will be dropping down to about an hour and a half from London to Manchester. And you could say an hour and a half to 2 hours if, with the way that the working life is now going, having that flexibility of working in the office and working from home, I think that it could, or it makes Manchester a commutable city to London. And I think we'll start to see a few people move out of London and up towards places like Manchester, as long as it works for them. But nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see what happens with HS2 and if it does move up to Manchester. Now, by 2022, the Great Northern Rail project will allow more than 40,000 passengers to travel throughout northern cities on a daily basis. So that's going to be massive for local businesses and also larger businesses in the region. If you are working in Manchester, for example, but you want to live, let's say 20, 30 minutes outside in the countryside, at the moment it would take probably about 30, 40 minutes to get into Manchester. So with the help of the Great Northern Rail project, it's really going to cut down a lot of these times. It's going to give people a few more options to consider when they're looking at where to live as well. But it's also going to make connectivity between your powerhouse cities, so your Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, and even Newcastle, you could say, connecting up to the north, a lot more accessible as well. Now, on the fringe of the city, you've got Manchester Airport. Manchester Airport's now the UK's second largest city. Sorry, it is the largest city outside of London, so the UK's second largest city. They fly to 220 destinations and they welcome about 22 million people or passengers a year to Manchester Airport. So it's definitely put itself on the map, solidified its position to the global audience, no doubt. Now, regeneration and investment. Manchester is one of the fastest growing cities in Europe. There's currently over 11,000 residential units being built in Manchester. There's over 1.5 million square feet of office space was delivered in 2019 as well. And I think we'll continue to see a lot more infrastructure thrown into Manchester as well. In September 2020, Manchester City Council announced over £1 billion worth of new investment schemes. One of three notable that I've included here. You've got £350 million investment project, or sorry, development project for Manchester Arena. There's £185 million investment to build 3 towers of 634 new homes as part of the Northern Gateway scheme. And then they're developing a 2,000 room co-living scheme on First Street. So a lot of money is being thrown into the city, and we'll continue to see that, I believe, over the next 5, 10, 15 years as well, when new ideas and new investment is pushed into Manchester as a whole. But I think as a whole, it ticks a lot of the boxes that we're looking for. You know, when we're looking at an investment, we're looking for population growth, we're looking for employment growth, we're looking at the infrastructure projects that are happening in Manchester as a whole, and we're also trying to monitor those supply and demand levels. And as we all know, in the UK, there aren't enough houses in the UK for the 76 million people just over that live in the UK. So we need more supply, and it's on its way. There's 11,000 units being developed at the moment. We've got the population growth, which is happening. We're seeing people move out of places like London to move up to Manchester, for example, and even not London, but you've got regional cities and people moving to Manchester because they see the opportunity that it presents. Employment, you've got all sorts of businesses from an array of sectors that are moving their headquarters up to Manchester, or moving to Manchester, or starting in Manchester as well. So it's really ticking a lot of the boxes. And I think that student-centric component to Manchester is really going to keep driving that rental demand for Manchester. I think it's going to continue to push rental growth up. And of course, I think we're going to see some very strong years in terms of price growth in Manchester over the next few years. I can't see it slowing down. I can see it slowing down a little bit, but I can't see it changing its cycle and going down. So I think maybe next year we won't see 8.7% price growth, but we'll see it sit around the 5 to 6%. Time will tell. These are all predictions, but it's taking a lot of points from an investment standpoint. So I hope this has answered a few questions that may be on your mind. If it hasn't, please feel free to flick me a message give me a call, send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to have a chat with each and every one of you. But I hope you have a fantastic week, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thank you.